The UN, which might more properly be called the United Nations Organization, grew out of the United Nations, which was the alliance that defeated fascism in Japan in the Second World War. And the idea of an organization was an attempt to preserve the peace by keeping in being the wartime Grand Alliance. That was Roosevelt's notion. And Roosevelt, having been a close bystander of the creation and failures of the League of Nations as a cabinet officer under Woodrow Wilson and as a failed Wilsonian vice presidential candidate in 1920, was looking to create a more sustainable organization, which was more in keeping with the realities of world power, which wouldn't be just like the League, something which could pass worthy resolutions which were unenforceable and ignored. And I think when you take a democratic peoples through a horrendous war that has killed millions of people, wrought destruction, you want a covenant that we're not going to go to war again so easily, that we've put up some roadblocks that will slow down the rush to war and provide alternative diplomatic mechanisms for preserving the peace, or if finally reduced to that, collective security measures for acting against the aggressor, and rather than all out, each against all war.
You're a world leader, you're facing incredible devastation at home, lots of people are hungry, people are displaced. Why on earth would you come up with some sort of airy-fairy institution that's supposed to promote peace? But actually, when you put the UN into its context, and you, Dan, have done a lot of work on this, and you see it as something that was part of a wartime alliance, I think it makes much more sense. Because then it isn't just some sort of idealistic institution. It becomes a very pragmatic response to war. It's a way of binding countries permanently into this wartime alliance, creating a set of rules for them to observe, and a much more sort of promising platform for peace. I think it was very important to see it as that sort of pragmatic response. So it's not just about the ideals, it's also about saying, what are the costs of war? And what are the costs of compromise and cooperation? And clearly there was a very I think smart calculation made that compromise and cooperation would be much better.
We got the UN obviously out of the brutal circumstances of the Second World War, a war which made many statesmen and politicians realize that they'd taken the world to the brink. And this, in a sense, was the institution that came out of that. And the fact that over many decades since, people have occasionally considered it, then quickly given up the prospect of strengthening the UN by charter change. The fact it's not happened shows what a disruptive moment 1945 and the end of the Second World War was. You were able to dream as visionaries of a possible world of multilateral structures, which before and since has seemed unrealistic. It took that war, purportedly to end all wars, to make statesmen reach the leap, if you like, of imagination to do something as bold as the UN.